Late shipments, new releases, and Target sales, oh my.
It's morphin' time.
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome back to another comic book haul, this time for October. We've got new releases, we got stuff from September that showed up a little late. There was a Barnes & Noble buy one, get one half off manga sale. There was a Target buy two, get one book sale. So we got a stack of books to take a look at. Let's just get into it. It's going to be a fun time. And if you enjoy these, be sure to hit the like button so that YouTube knows that you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe and the notification bell to keep up with future uploads on the channel, and go check out previous videos if you haven't already. Let's get to the comic haul. Alright, let's start with manga. We got Ultraman, Along Came a Spider-Man, Volume 1. So this was a collaboration between Marvel and Tsuburaya. This was interesting because we had the Ultraman vs. Avengers comic, and then we had Ultraman Along Came a Spider-Man, which is an Ultraman manga featuring Spider-Man and Doctor Doom as the villain. This is kind of a neat series if you like the characters, and it's kind of a neat little thing where like Spider-Man gets isekai'd over to the Ultraman world, which is really fun. I thought this was going to be kind of short-lived, but it's just kept going. It's on like chapter 35 now, so I'm actually surprised. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to last, but this first volume, it has what's listed as Act 1, 2, and 3, which the digital chapters on the Viz app are like, you know, Act 1 will be like several chapters basically, because the chapters here are like 40-something pages. So it's just, you know, it's a matter of like, I can't exactly translate it over, but we get, you know, a good chunk of it. There hasn't been a Volume 2 solicited yet, but I'm sure it will come. But it's pretty neat. It's pretty fun. If you like both sets of characters, it's a good read. Alright, Kaiju number 8 B-Side Volume 2. This is the second half of the Kaiju number 8 B-Side series. The first volume focused heavily on Hoshina. The second volume focuses on Gen Narumi, as well as Kikoru Shinomiya. So it's kind of a nice like pairing with that previous volume. It's a little bit longer than that previous one. We got nice color art pages included. So this has chapters 7 through 12 of B-Side, and these are just basically a side story featuring the other characters from Kaiju number 8 that don't get as much focus in the main story. So it's kind of fun for that reason, and pretty cool if you enjoy Kaiju number 8. It's definitely worth checking out. Alright, we got a couple really cool volumes here. So first of all, well, both of these are Tsukasa Hojo manga. First of all, we have Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye has a new anime series on Disney Plus and Hulu right now, and so because of that, Abrams Book, through their Kana Publishing imprint, did a new volume release of Cat's Eye, which I don't think has ever been done in English before, at least as far as I know, and this is pretty awesome. So this is a series about 3 women who are thieves, and by day they run a cafe, and by night they steal stuff, and one of the girls is dating a detective, and he accidentally feeds her information about the cases. And so it's kind of fun. There's a lot of good dynamics, a lot of good drama, a lot of good morality questions about what they're doing, but they have kind of noble purposes to it. There was an anime series back in the 80s that adapted the manga that took a little bit slower of approach over 73 episodes, whereas the current anime series is 12 episodes, and kind of going through it real quick, but you know, if you enjoy Cat's Eye, the new anime is fun for that. But the cool part is that we now have an English release of the manga that started, and there's already, I think, 3 of these solicited, so you can see it's pretty thick. So this is the Cat's Eye Omnibus Edition, Volume 1. It is a paperback, but it does have a dust jacket, which is pretty cool. You can see nice different artwork on the inside, which I do appreciate. This retails for like $30, which is not too bad, because it's the first 3 volumes of the manga. And then on top of being the first 3 volumes, all the color pages are intact, both the full color pages and the 2 color pages, which are really, really cool. And then there's some like later chapters here, which you get in full color and 2 color. So if there was color and they did have the option to get it, they totally got it. Page stock-wise, it's not super thick. It's a little thin. You can kind of see there is some bleed through here. It's definitely nowhere near like the bleed through on the Viz 3-in-1s, which I call Bible paper. This is still sturdy page stock. You're just going to get a little bit of bleed through, but it's honestly not too bad. And it makes for an easy read, because at about 600 pages, if it was a heavier card stock or heavier paper stock, these things would be really unwieldy. But because they're paperback and because they use that slightly thinner paper, it's a lot lighter. It's a pretty easy read. You're not going to get tired holding it. So that's pretty awesome. This series lasts, I think, 18 volumes, so there will be several of these in the future, but The cool part is this isn't the only Tsukasa Hojo manga that came out at the same time. Because we also got the City Hunter Omnibus Volume 1, which got a live-action Netflix movie recently. So, you know what? If the synergy to the new projects is what it takes for us to get these things, I ain't complaining. So the City Hunter manga, I've already read through this entire thing because I'm less familiar with Cat's Eye than I am City Hunter. Because I've watched the entire first City Hunter anime. I need to watch the others, but I've watched the entire first City Hunter anime, so I was like, oh, I really want to read the manga and see how it's different. Also do love the spine. I actually kind of like the spine more than the Cat's Eye one. The Cat's Eye one is very pink, whereas the City Hunter one is full color. Not exactly sure why that is, but it's pretty cool. It's just kind of neat the differences, but it's built the same. So everything I said about Cat's Eye applies to City Hunter there, which is pretty cool. So, you got the dust jacket. There aren't many color pages for this series, but there are some at the beginning. This first volume, I guess the other one also had like 23 chapters. This one's got 25. So it's the first 3 volumes. I'd be a little careful flipping through this one because there's some slightly mature content. Nothing too crazy. These both, I think they both have the older teen 16 plus rating on them. Yeah. And this one definitely needs it because there is at least one scene with boobies. And there is an ongoing joke about Rio, Rio Saiba, our main character here. He is a mercenary for hire, a bounty hunter, whatever you want to call him. He will do a job, and if it's a beautiful woman, he'll make sure he does that job. And so Rio himself, his catchphrase is mokori, which doesn't have an exact English translation, but this guy will pitch a tent around certain women, and it is always played as comedy. He's not like a super skeezy guy, though he honestly is a bit of a slut. So the thing is, like this is a character in the anime. I think he's played up for laughs a lot more than in the manga, especially at the beginning. At the beginning, this takes a really serious tone in the early chapters, and it starts to get funnier as it progresses. And I think that's kind of where the anime took its influence. But the big story is when he gets his new partner Kaori, and the two of them together are a great dynamic. So it's a classic series. If you watch the anime and you want to know what the manga's like, it is different. I found it to be different. The plot pacing's different. A lot of the humor is different. I think it doesn't lean into so much the he just is such a womanizer and fails at it, which he does. Like he's a pretty failed womanizer, all things considered. They don't lean into that as much in the manga, and some of the jokes are a little crasser, but kind of more clever at times. But also kind of shows the heart of the character as well. So. I do appreciate this, but I found that I like the anime, but I actually kind of like the manga more. So that was not what I expected, but I'm looking forward to more of these. There was 35 volumes of City Hunters. There's going to be like 10 of these things. Or no, 11 of these things. 11? No, 12. There's 35 and we get 3 per. We're going to need like 12 of these. I'm excited. I hope these sell well, and I hope we get to see the entire series for both, because these are nice additions. All right, let's get to the non-Marvel and DC section. We got the Power Rangers Deluxe Edition for the Pink Ranger, as well as the Power Rangers Deluxe Edition for Darkest Hour. I'm not going to talk about these too much because I just did a video about the Power Rangers reading order using the Deluxe Editions as the guide and what order to read these in. Go check that out. I went through the contents of these already. We're moving on. All right, so next up from IDW, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution. This is a sequel to The Last Ronin that is the third miniseries after Last Ronin and Last Ronin The Lost Years. This is kind of like the dark future timeline. We've done, Last Ronin was like your Old Man Logan type story. Lost Years was like your prequel to like, how did we get to here? And then now you're into your sequel territory, which is... I wish it was more interesting than it was. I won't lie to y'all, I didn't actually really enjoy this that much. The potential of having 4 new turtles who have different powers, different personalities and everything sounded really promising. I didn't ultimately enjoy this as much because I thought this would maybe be like a new fresh take on the Ninja Turtles. But then they just kind of go into the same rut that we're used to. Like, oh, you can't leave the sewer. It's dangerous. Oh, we had to sneak out. Oh, we're going to use our powers when we shouldn't. Like, I would have liked something different. Instead of just repeating the beats and being like, oh, it's poetic. Like, these turtles are like the old turtles. And I'm like, I want new stories. This felt like a bit of a retread. And it also felt like it just wasn't conclusive either. Meaning that there's probably another series in the works. And... I like the dark future storylines. It's like a what if, here's what happened type thing. you know, I think doing a prequel is great, but if your sequel doesn't have a good hook for me, I'm not sticking around for Last Ronin 3 at this point. It kind of just feels like they're starting to milk it. Because the ending of this, I was like, oh, that's definitely not conclusive. These four turtles are interesting, but I felt like I didn't get to know too much about them. I felt like the book wasn't about them so much as like, let's set up the next series, let's build out the world. And I'm like, that's nice, but also would like to know more about these four. So yeah, I kind of just didn't enjoy this as much as I thought, and maybe I'm just a little burned out on Last Ronin. And then our other non-Marvel and DC book is a Marvel property, but published by Abrams Books. And also, holy cow, it's huge. This is the Fantastic Four Full Circle Expanded Edition, which I was waiting for this thing to go on sale, because I had previously bought the Fantastic Four Full Circle, which, yeah, see, when they said Expanded Edition, I thought it just meant extra pages. Not that it was also gigantic. This was a graphic novel by Alex Ross that he wrote and drew, kind of a take sort of on the classic like Jack Kirby run of Fantastic Four. Specifically, it takes place like after issue 51, This Man, This Monster. And so they had put out this nice hardcover edition, and I'd gotten that. And then they put out this expanded edition, which was a first for them to do. And it is gigantic. Look at that size difference, right? Like the fact that you can fit this all within the cover art border, amazing. So let's discuss. So we've got Fantastic Four Full Circle Expanded Edition. So this is an original graphic novel. It was published by Abrams Books through their Marvel Arts thing for Abrams Comic Art. One of the things I like is that they did this Origin of Fantastic Four bit as well in the original. And the original, it was on the inside flap here, and it was like a fold out, right, like this, which is kind of neat. But basically, that has been translated just into normal pages on the expanded. But this is a beautiful graphic novel written and drawn by Alex Ross. And his artwork is astounding. And it's so good. If you never checked it out, absolutely highly recommended. Check this out. You also get a ton of bonus material. So that was where the original book ended, was right here with the story. And then there's 288 pages, and I think even more than that, of expanded material, which includes reference photos, which includes Alex Ross talking about his whole process, about him meeting Jack Kirby back in the 90s, about how this photo like inspired him to use shadows in his work. It also has a scan of his original copy of issue 51, which he took inspiration from for this story. And then it just goes into his history at the Fantastic Four, the art process, coming up with the designs. Here's his reference photos, his artwork, the stuff he loves from Jack Kirby, the sketch work, all this incredible bonus material in this giant oversized version. You get the entire graphic novel in pencils and the entire graphic novel in inks. And then of course it all in color at the front. And then even more sketch designs, and even talking about like his photo references. And it includes all of his covers he did for the Ryan North run of Fantastic Four as a bonus as well, which is just incredible. This is really, really nice. And it has a $65 cover price, which isn't too bad. I picked it up for like $37, I think. Highly recommended if you love Alex Ross and you love the Fantastic Four. And if you've already read this, even better. But if you haven't, I would say try to get a deal on this edition. Just because you're going to get like a crazy huge book. And I do mean crazy huge because like this thing is bigger than an Omnibus sized book, right? Like here's the Power Rangers, which are even a little bit bigger than Omnibus. And then spoiler for the future here, we've even got one large, it's larger than a Marvel Treasury edition. So like it's massive. Anyways, really, really happy with it though. It's super cool. Let's go over to DC, shall we? All right, so first of all, we have Blue Beetle Jaime Reyes Book 3. This is one of those confusing releases, simply because I'm not sure why it took 2 years after Book 2 to get Book 3. They were cranking these out, and then they just stopped. And then now we finally got it, so I'm not complaining because we finally got it. We can see we got Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle Book 3. So this contains the rest of the original Blue Beetle run that Jaime had. So it's got Blue Beetle 26 to 36. It also features the backup stories from Booster Gold 21 to 25 and 28 to 29. Those Booster Gold backup stories are never reprinted in the Booster Gold trades, and the original Jaime trades did not include those either, but they are like an epilogue to the series, and it's pretty nice to finally have them collected with the other Blue Beetle stories in here, which I think is super awesome. So this does finish the collection. So of course we had gotten Book 1 and Book 2 already. Again, these came out about a year apart, and then there was like a 2-year gap before Book 3. So what do the spines look like? Because the recent Blue Beetle run from Dawn of DC didn't have consistent spines, and holy crap, they actually did it. Wow. Okay, so it's surprising. It's sad that it's surprising, but it's surprising when a publisher takes like a huge gap between releases and the spines actually line up. Doesn't line up 100% perfect, no, but not even 1 and 2 are 100% perfect. But the important part, picture of Jaime, logo, creators, number, logo, perfect. I have 0 complaints. I'm so happy. It brings me joy because I have so many mismatched spines. This one's just nice. Look at that. Even the new DC logo, but it's in the same place as the others. 0 complaints from me. All right, I got one DC Finest this month, which is DC Finest Supergirl Body and Soul. This is the Supergirl run starting in 1996. This is the volume going up to 1998. This contains Showcase 96, number 8, Supergirl 1 to 18, Supergirl Annual 1 and 2, and Supergirl Plus. This is the Linda Danvers era Supergirl, which was a much different Supergirl than we're used to. The Kara Zor-El is kind of the version we see in most media. But this is basically the story of how Linda Danvers ended up getting bonded with Matrix. Matrix is an alien being who can shapeshift and took on the persona of Supergirl after Supergirl's death in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And she was a big character in the 90s, but in this mid-90s point, she ended up bonding with Linda, and there's a whole lot of really cool stories in here. This is a much different Supergirl. It's a little bit grungier of a Supergirl. It's like that mid-90s grunge kind of thing going on. But yeah, it's different, but it's enjoyable, and I do like this era, and it's nice to see it starting to get more consistent collections here, because that's not always been the case with some others. And you can see right here, just the overall, this is kind of the vibe. It's kind of the vibe here. This cover's been homaged a few times. Kamala Khan Miss Marvel debuted with a cover similar to this. So yeah, it's a fun time. If you enjoy this era Supergirl, we're finally getting some good collections of it, and we shall see as it proceeds if we'll continue to get collections of it. All right, it's DC Omnibus time. Target was doing their buy 2 get 1 free sale, and I was on top of things this time to actually take advantage of Omnibus deals. So the first one was Green Arrow Archer's Quest Omnibus Volume 1, aka How I Like Books Being Collected. So this is the 2000s era of Green Arrow after Oliver Queen came back. This has Kevin Smith, Brad Meltzer, and Judd Winnick on writing. It's got Phil Hester, Andy Parks, Guy Major, and James Sinclair on art. Specifically, I really love Phil Hester's Green Arrow art. It's like my favorite artist for Green Arrow, I think, is Phil Hester. Love the spine design. Love that. And I love that it is Archer's Quest Omnibus Volume 1. It's not a creator focused. It's not anything crazy. It is just, here you go. And it's a pretty straightforward collection. We've got Green Arrow 1 to 39, Secret Files and Origins, Green Lantern 162 to 164, and a new forward by Phil Hester, a new introduction by Kevin Smith, and a new afterword by Judd Winnick, plus behind-the-scenes material. Love seeing that. They also threw in, there's a credit for it, I'm not 100% certain, by the way, that the inside looks like, which is super cool. I'm not 100% certain on what was included, but there is a mention of something that was previously only printed in the Absolute Green Arrow Quiver, which may be one of the bonus material things. But it's pretty cool. And again, I like DC giving us tables of contents. Marvel gives us tables of contents for classic volumes, but modern volumes they don't. But it's nice to see that. But yeah, this is a great run. I do really enjoy this era. For the most part, again, really enjoy Phil Hester's art for Green Arrow. So it's nice to see this get a consistent, straightforward collection. Hope that this continues. I think it would only need like 2 or 3 omnibuses to get this whole era in Omnibus. Look at all this behind-the-scenes stuff and sketches and layouts and all that good stuff and scripts. Good stuff all around. But yeah, I really do like this era, and it's nice to get in a nice omnibus form. All right, the second book on that sale, Superman, The Exile and Other Stories Omnibus. I wasn't sure if I was going to get this one initially because I've been doing the Triangle era omnibuses, and I was kind of like, okay, well, what is the post-crisis Superman and omnibus look like? And basically there'd be like one omnibus, maybe 2 of like the John Byrne era and like the other stuff there, and then there would be this one, and then the next one, which actually is coming out, which is Brainiac Reborn, then the Triangle years. So this is like, basically there's like a gap between this and Triangle, and that's actually coming out. So I was like, okay, now I need Exile, because this has got good stuff in it. So it's got Jerry Ordway, Dan Jurgens, Roger Stern, Kerry Gamble. This is like a really solid creative team lineup. And I'm hoping that when it comes to doing the stuff prior to this, it's not just like, here's a John Byrne omnibus, and then here's everybody else omnibus. I hope it's all together, because I'm really liking having all the Superman titles post-Crisis in consistent volumes, and I hope they keep that up, because I know they're doing like an absolute edition of like Man of Steel, which was John Byrne's thing, but I'm hoping they just kind of do what they're doing here, which is like Adventures of Superman 444, or 445 to 460, Superman 23 to 37, Action 643 to 646, and Action Comics Annual 2. Because I would like to have all of it, to be honest. That's just me. I'm also like not the biggest fan of like John Byrne's Superman. So, you know, I don't really want to have just a John Byrne Superman volume. I'd like to have a little bit of everybody, which makes some sense for me at least. But we'll see what they do. We'll see what they end up doing. They're not afraid to double dip on the Supermans, because Triangle Years 2 has Death of Superman in it, even though it has its own omnibus. So this is a fun little era. It's not, the Exile storyline is kind of the big one, which is like Superman leaves Earth, goes into exile for various reasons. But, there's a reason it's called Exile and other stories. There's not a ton of standout stories, but it is still fun for this era leading into the Triangle Years, but not quite there yet. We'll get to the third book I got in the Marvel section, but let's go with a new release, Birds of Prey by Gail Simone Omnibus Volume 1. Okay, very, very excited about this. I have bought this series so many times. This is one of my favorite DC comics ever, which is Birds of Prey, specifically the Gail Simone era, is like a super big favorite of mine. It is the first time I read a comic and said, I need to know who made this. It's where I started paying attention to creators, and I was like, oh, who is Gail Simone? Who is Ed Benes? Who are these people that made this comic I really like? And so it's kind of like what started me reading stuff and going, I want to read more by this person. I want to read more or see more art by this person. It was a big turning point for me as a comic reader. So very excited that it's an omnibus. I bought this series multiple times. I had the original trades. I had the new trades. I now have the omnibus. We'll see how the omnibus works on volume 2, because Gail did leave the book and then come back for the Brightest Day era, and I'm not exactly sure how the omnibus is going to collect that. We shall see. But, we got this beautiful spine. Look, and I was talking about spines. This one's gorgeous. We got Oracle, we got Black Canary, Huntress, and Lady Blackhawk here, and then we got them on the cover. This is a new cover by Nicola Scott, who did the new cover for Secret Six, because she's a frequent collaborator with Gail Simone. I love when omnibuses get new covers. That's so cool. And this one is gorgeous. I love the Oracle mask hiding in the back. I love that Barbara's wearing a Batgirl t-shirt to have that history there. But yeah, this is basically the series, which is featuring Barbara Gordon, who sends out her agents on missions. And it starts with Black Canary and Huntress in this era. It started with Black Canary, but in this era is really where Huntress comes in. And then Lady Blackhawk joins the team. Lady Blackhawk is a character from the 40s. She is from World War II era. She got lost through time and then appeared in the modern day. And so she is super fun. Love her. So we got the three main women here. And then this does collect Birds of Prey 56 to 90, a story from Secret Files 2003, and then pages from Batgirl 57 and Batman 633, because there was a crossover and the birds appear in a couple of those parts of the issue, which I actually kind of enjoy. Instead of throwing a whole Batgirl issue in that doesn't have much relevance, they just throw in the part you need. And I think that's super, super cool. And in addition to all this, we get a bunch of extra material, because Gail Simone is usually heavily involved with her omnibuses of her material, which I think is great. There's a great story about how she got the job, and how it happened at a Comic-Con. It starts with the Secret Files story, which I think is great because that's kind of leading us into this run, and then it goes through the run as you would expect. And it's the art is gorgeous, the storytelling's fun, really great character work, really great characters. This is a team that's never been properly adapted, which makes me sad. The closest we got was the Brave and the Bold episode with the Birds of Prey and that wonderful musical number, The One and Only Birds of Prey. And then we've got the Justice League Unlimited episode, which is supposed to be Birds of Prey, but because they couldn't use Barbara Gordon, it ended up becoming like a Black Canary and Huntress episode. And both those episodes were written by Gail Simone, so that's kind of like the appropriate part of this. But she's got a bunch of things included back here. There's she's got let's see, where is it at? Gail's got a whole write-up on Black Alice and like the origin of Black Alice. There's also a bunch of artwork provided by different artists that worked on the series. And then she's got an afterword in here, and then also is a full script from Gail Simone as well. So it's awesome. Plus, we get the sketch version, or the pencils and ink version of the cover by Nicola Scott, who does Nicola Scott does some of the art, I think, in this volume, but will do more art in the second volume. I'm so happy this is getting collected again because this is such a phenomenal run. Legendary all-timer. So happy. And can't wait to double dip again when the second Omnibus comes out. And hopefully this leads to other Birds of Prey omnibuses. Because there's a gap I don't have. There's like 25 issues that have not been collected in trade or omnibus or anything. So I'm hoping this leads to more Birds of Prey omnibuses. Because this is one of the coolest teams DC ever had. Alright, so Marvel trades. I picked up Darth Vader Black, White, and Red in Treasury Edition because I'm kind of hooked on these now. I had read this one when it hit Marvel Unlimited, thought it was solid. I liked the Darth Maul one more, but then after owning the Darth Maul one and the Visions one and seeing they announced a Boba Fett series, I was like, I think I need this one too. Funny story, it does have the Peach Momoko Vader story in it, which is also in the Visions one because the Visions one has the Peach Momoko one-shot. Anyways, this is a fun series. One of the things I don't like about this, though, is that they have it in publication order. So what they did is the 4 issues each had one part of the story written by Jason Aaron with Leonard Kirk on art. And instead of doing, like, here's the 4 parts of the story, they do part 1. Gotta be careful not to flip the pages here. Then they do the backup stories, like the Peach Momoko one and the others. They do all the backup stories. And then the next issue comes up, and then you get part 2, and then the backup stories. And I wish it was just the 4 parts, and then all the backup stories in the back. Because I don't like splitting it up like that. I don't really understand why it had to be in the same format as the single issues. Because it makes for a more split reading experience. When you're reading it monthly, that's one thing. But in a trade, kind of wish it was organized better. But still, nice, beautiful Treasury edition of Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red. All right, Weapon X-Men. Not a big fan of this current X-Men era, I'm going to be honest. This one I got because Chamber's in it, and Chamber's cool and not used enough. This ended up being a 5-issue miniseries instead of an ongoing. It had a potential to be ongoing, but only lasted 5 issues. It was Joe Casey, Criss Cross. That's a pretty good combo. It mostly focuses on Deadpool and Wolverine and Cable, and then Thunderbird. Thunderbird and Chamber are kind of brought along for the ride, and they end up fighting the giant robot from the Godzilla comic. The Marvel Godzilla comic. Yeah, weird stuff happens in this one, but it's a fun ride. I wish there was more of it. I also just wish there was more Chamber in general, but yeah, it's a cool little series. I've got a stack of epic collections, both new and old. Let's get to it. So, Wolverine, Madripoor Nights. Oh, this one's got a story about it. So, I've been trying to get a copy of this for a while. And, you know, most people, you look around eBay, Amazon, you can get a copy of this. Of the third printing. So the third printing has an issue, which we'll talk about in a moment, but I got mine off eBay because I was specifically looking for either a first print or a second print of Wolverine Madripoor Nights. This is the first epic collection for Wolverine. It's 1988, 1989. It starts with Wolverine Volume 2, 1-16, plus the Marvel Comics Presents lead-in issues. This is just the beginning of it. The first Wolverine miniseries in the X-Men Epics, but this is a lot of Wolverine goodness. I was collecting Larry Hama run, thought, let me get Volume 2, because I found Volume 2 for $5, and then I was like, I need Volume 1 now. So this is the first print. This is the first print, which I think is like 2014, I want to say. I want to say this is like a first print 2014. So this is a first print copy. Why did I go out of my way to get a first print copy? Well, on the third print copies of Wolverine Madripoor Nights, the spine looks like that. Yeah, for some reason, the logo or the name of the series is center aligned, when all other epics and all other printings, it is left aligned. That center align was going to bug the crap out of me, so I went and found a first print copy, and look at that. It lines up with not only the other Wolverine volumes, but all the other epics. There's little minor epic formatting changes over the years, like the early ones would say like 01, and they just switched to just having like 2, so like a later printing would just say 1. They used to have like the registered trademark logos on the names and the spines, but they go away. That stuff doesn't bug me. What would have bugged me is if this was all the way over here in the center. That would have bothered me forever. So I specifically was seeking out an eBay auction and won it. I got it for like, basically I paid less than what a reprint of it would cost because of the new prices. So I totally won that auction. But yeah, I had to look specifically for an eBay auction that had like pictures of the spine so I'd know I was getting the one with the correct centered spine. Not centered, the correct left-aligned spine. All right, Target, buy two, get one. I picked up another Spider-Man volume. I was going to stop with 18, which was Venom. This is 19, Assassination. This is 1989. The reason I picked this up is because I've been doing Black Costume Saga Spider-Man, and the last one kind of left me going, hey, where was that other story? There's a few other Venom stories that are early Venom that I wanted to have, like this one, which is Amazing Spider-Man 316. I like this one. So I kind of wanted that, and there's also this part where, like, Peter gets the symbiote back, so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is my new cutoff point, unless I read this and go, I need volume 20 as well. This could be a spiral, or it could just be, this is where it ends, and I still need 14 and 16, I think, to be made. But, yeah, anyways, point being, I got another Spider-Man volume. Okay, so originally I wasn't going to do this, but I decided to do so. The early X-Men stuff, not my favorite. I'm pretty much one of those people that's like, X-Men truly began with giant-size X-Men, which would be Epic Collection Volume 5. So I was going to skip the first four, but then I was looking over and I was like, well, I'm pretty much getting every other X-Men Epic. Might as well get the first four, especially because they're reprinting Volume 2, which is one of the harder to get ones, and that means they'll probably reprint Volume 3 at some point. So I got what I could get right now, which was, you know, buy Spider-Man, buy X-Men, get the next one free. Volume 1, Children of the Atom. This is the early days. It's issues 1 through 23. This is Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Not the best stuff, to be honest. I've read this stuff in the past. Don't super enjoy it, but, you know, kind of X-Men's a messy franchise for a lot of reasons, and this is part of it. There is a reason why, you know, we don't revisit this era of X-Men that often, because when you start introducing a team that had Storm, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus on it, yeah, like that becomes X-Men at that point. This stuff just seems a little trite in comparison. But yeah, it's got the early stuff, the earliest stuff in there. And then the other one that's still pretty available is Volume 4. It's Always Darkest Before the Dawn. This is a weird, like, in-between volume. So this is basically, it's all that. Because this was the time when the X-Men issues were just reprints of previous issues. And so this is just a collection of all the other things they appeared in instead of their main book, because their main book was just reprints. But the cool part is they include the reprint covers, so that way you got kind of like a frame of reference as to when these take place in the X-Men's history, which I think is neat. This is kind of the thing I love about Epics and Omnis and like these oversized collections is, you know, just having a collection of here's all these random stories. So instead of you trying to seek them out and find them yourself, they're all here in one volume. And you can see here, like there's X-Men 75's cover, right? And then it's like, oh, now we're going to go to Amazing Ventures featuring Beast. Like, I like this. I like this a lot. Super, super cool, honestly. And it's a lot easier to read than trying to like go back and do it yourself. And then on top of this, we have more X-Men. Wounded Wolf is a new release. So we had there's been some gaps in the X-Men epics. We had a gap of, we had 10 and 12. And so I was like, oh, cool. The next one's probably going to be 11. So naturally, the next one was 13. 11 comes out in January, though, so not that much of a wait. But anyways, Volume 13 for 85 to 86. This is a lot of iconic stuff. We got Trial of Magneto here in that costume that was short-lived. The X-Men 97 is now made famous and got to the point of having like a friggin' Marvel Rivals skin. There's a lot of great stories in this. Again, Trial of Magneto is a big one. There's also this really good like Barry Windsor Smith drawn Wolverine story in here that follows up on his Weapon X stuff. Kitty gets a new costume. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. This is 80s X-Men. 80s X-Men's pretty great. So I'm pretty happy. Waiting though because I want to get Volume 11 so I could read 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, just doing things in sequence. I like that, which is why sometimes epics frustrate me because they don't go in sequence. But when they do, it's really cool. Like Ghost Rider Volume 3 Death Race. We've gotten these in order so far, 1, 2, and 3. Hope they continue. I hope the next one's 4, and then the one after that's 5, and we finished up the original Johnny Blaze era because I would like to read them in order. As you can see here, we've got Ghost Rider 29 to 50, plus Marvel Team Up 91, and material from What If 17 and Marvel Tales 256, which are a couple extra bonus stories. This is a series I think gets better over time. I think Volume 1 is pretty solid, but okay. I think Volume 2 is a lot better. I think Volume 3 is where we start getting into really cool stuff. They do some really, really neat storylines in here with Johnny Blaze and fighting demons, and the whole death race itself, which is issue 35, is so famous. It's been reprinted in so many Ghost Rider trades I have. I think I probably have death race, I don't know how many times. There's also this really cool point in time where Johnny loses his memories. He's an amnesiac, but the Ghost Rider remembers, but Johnny doesn't. So it's like a kind of like a push and pull kind of thing, which I think is really, really cool. Really enjoy this. Looking forward to them printing more. 2 more to go. 2 more to go. We got the entire original era. All right, so new release from September, which was like the last week of September. That's why it's in October, because that's when I got it. The X-Men Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1. So this is the Age of Krakoa's first Omnibus collection. This is the direct market cover. These sold out super quick. I guess I forgot to mention that. The DC, I can wait till there's a sale usually, but Marvel stuff's been selling out real quick. This cover sold out fast at a lot of places. This is only through the direct market. The regular cover is also nice, but I like this one because it's Emma Frost and Jean Grey, drawn by Russell Dodderman. What's interesting is that the main covers have kind of like this X pattern design. I'll flash up a picture of it. But then the variant covers have a full art cover, so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go that way. The cool part is that the spines are the same on both, so no matter what cover you get, your spine's going to look consistent. And you can see we got X-Men Age of Krakoa, Dawn of X, Volume 1. So this is everything. So we've seen some other Krakoa omnibuses that have been creator-focused. Here is all of these things. So X-Men 1-7, X-Force 1-8, Marauders 1-8, Excalibur 1-8, Fallen Angels 1-6, Mutant Mutants 1-7, Wolverine 1-3, and Giant Size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost number 1. So it's in reading order. It's in a much better reading order than the old Krakoa anthology trade paperbacks. And it also includes some bonus things, like there's a story from Marvel Comics 1000, as well as a story from Incoming, I think, which were added. They've been taking feedback from the community. They've been working with the people that worked on these books. This is off to a very promising start. And if you've not read Krakoa and you like your physical print stuff, I mean, this is the way to do it. I love this era of X-Men because it dared to do something radically different. It went in a completely different direction. It basically establishes that mutants have their own sovereign nation island on Krakoa, where all mutants are welcome and all past transgressions are forgiven as long as, you follow the new rules. And, of course, there's problems with that, because when you put, like, Mr. Sinister on your council, there's going to be issues with that. This is kind of the point. It's a messy time, but it's also kind of interesting to see the X-Men kind of take a brand new direction. And also, because of the Mutant Resurrection Protocol, we got to get everybody on deck. Everybody can show up from the X-Men's past. There's also this really cool... the giant size issue is really cool because it's a silent issue to kind of reference the issue from Frank Whiteley and Grant Morrison's run. So, love that. There is so much cool stuff. And then also, on top of that, this book has all the variant covers in the back. Full size as well, not the thumbnail size that we sometimes see with like the trades. And then also some sketch work and some design work, which includes the cover art done for the anthology trade paperbacks, which is really, really nice. I like the Krakoa era a lot. It's one of my favorites, and I like the kind of all hands on deck interconnection between all the titles type thing that was going on. Now, if you are reading this and you are planning to pick this up, I will advise it does not contain House of X Powers of 10. This is the kickoff 2 miniseries thing. It was done as an oversized hardcover already. Marvel's reprinting this in November. So if you don't have this and you're wanting to read Krakoa, get this, but also get this because this isn't included in here. And they said they did that just so I think they want to have this book be separate to reprint whenever they want to, because it's kind of a seminal X-Men story at this point. But yeah, it basically goes this, and then hopefully either these Omnis will contain the other events like Ten of Swords or X Lives, Deaths of Wolverine. Hopefully they're included in the Omnis, or if they aren't, they'll reprint the oversized hardcovers for those that don't have them. Because this could be really, really cool. I've heard from the sources there's going to be 10 or 11 volumes of this. So looking forward to it over the next 5 or 6 years. But pretty awesome that we've gotten started here. All right, my last 2 books. It's Danny Ketch Ghost Rider Omnibus Volume 1 and Volume 2. I recently talked about these in the Double Dipping on Comics video, and I kind of feel like I covered everything about them there. Omnibus Volume 1 was my 3rd book on the buy 2 get 1 with the Superman and the Green Arrow omnibuses, which was cool, and then I picked up Volume 2 right when it came out, and this is the direct market cover with the X-Men team up, which I like because apparently the standard cover, which had had Ghost Rider and Blaze on it, both Danny and Johnny. It apparently still had Danny's Ghost Rider on the spine, and I kind of liked that the variant cover had Blaze on the spine, so you have the main two characters of the era represented there, which I think is super fun. What's not super fun is it happened. What happened here? People have been talking about this on like the Omnibus Collector subreddit and stuff. This happens every once in a while where the red box just gets a little bit bigger than it should for whatever reason, and that happened again. And it's not just the variant cover, it's also the standard cover. I don't know why that happens. Also, these books are gigantic. I've been binging through the first one, though, which has been kind of fun because that's a lot of stuff I've read before and such. This is great if you're trying to collect the Danny Ketch era and the epics are too slow for you, which is kind of where I'm at. I was getting the epics, but the epics are just going too slow. And I was like, I want more now, and here they are. So I've just been going omnibus on them. I don't know if I'm going to buy any more of the epics. It's going to depend because there's some stuff in here. I was reading through. I was like checking the mapping. This has the Spider-Man issues, which aren't in the epic where they should have been. So these are more complete. So if you're big hardcore Ghost Rider like me, I think I'd recommend you getting the omnibuses for this era. Just because there's so much stuff in this point in time for Ghost Rider. In the 90s, there was just so many titles and he was showing up in so many books. I recommend this. The only thing it's missing is like the Fantastic Four issues where he was part of the new Fantastic Four, but those aren't Ghost Rider like stories. So, you know, this just kind of shows up in them. So anyways, I'm enjoying these and I look forward to volume 3 and hopefully we don't have to wait too long for that. Because yeah, I want more Ghost Rider. Well, that was a fun haul. My omnibus collection's getting bigger, isn't it? I got a lot of shelving and reorganizing to do, and now that I got this filmed, I can go and do that. There is more coming up in the future. I think I was looking at my list. I think I got like 5 more omnibuses to buy this year, which is rough, but they are lower priced omnibuses, and there's stuff I've always wanted, like Jonah Hex and Warlord. There's some more books coming up. It is going to start to wind down as we head towards the end of the year, so if you want to see how the haul grows and changes, or maybe shrinks, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out. Hit the like button while you're down there if you enjoyed this. Leave a comment, tell me what was your favorite thing you picked up in the last month. Also, be sure to check out our Discord server. You want to continue the conversation. You can join as a channel member, get perks like early access to videos. Let's give some special shoutouts to our channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including Captain Tears, Spin-54, Masterbin95, Forever1000, Super Shaddix Boom, Mr. Smelly Tobato, Veloquence, Thiago Ribeiro, Jacobu Shiraz, Ghostly, Dark Carver, Mr. Arrowverse 16, Parzival Joker, Sherez, Philippe Ceruno, Renato, and Gabriel Saez. Also, special shout out to Lightning63 for joining at Commander tier. Thank you everybody for the support of this channel, members and viewers alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. Plus, you can find my awesome graphic designer on social media and our Discord server at DarkClaw643. You can check out HeroClub@hero-club.com for comic reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, see you in the next haul.